Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining today this webinar. Despite the competition we have today with the Winter Olympic Games opening ceremony, I have to say that we register a new record in terms of people attending this webinar. I see as well in the Menti you are just filling in that the interest of speaking about guidelines is quite high, and that's also a very interesting point. As usual, several questions will be asked to you in this webinar, and I would propose that you also answer the other questions coming. In addition, don't forget as well that you can raise questions to our speakers in order that you get much more insight in the topics, and in order that you can also have a more clear view on the topics of today. We use, as usual, the Menti platform, and please use the code written on the top of this slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so today you see we will speak about two very interesting aspects. One is the process of the ISO TS 22163. The second is a very interesting methodology. Next slide, please. So welcome to this February edition. It's the first IRQB webinar in 2022. And in a few slides, you will see that you will have a view on what happened in the past month about that, and I must already say that it's quite a nice success story. It's clear that you really like the way we are presenting these topics, and therefore in 2022 we will still have a monthly way to communicate with you in such a manner. Today, as mentioned, two topics will be discussed. First, there is a very deep look into an important methodology called problem solving. And I know that this is quite important for a lot of the audience and the companies. And second as well, the first article inspection guideline, which was republished a couple of days ago, after a very important update, but more information just later on. Of course, it's very key for the rail sector to understand deeply these aspects and the processes related to that, because it will, of course, help in the management system, but not only, also provide the very interesting improvement path for all the organizations. So next slide, please. I have the pleasure to present you our speakers today, which will give you the view and their experience, their expertise on the topics. First, we will have Stefan Ziegler from Siemens Mobility, as well chair of the IRQB board. Then Jana from the IMC will give you the introduction of globally the two topics. And then, as mentioned, a deep dive in the problem-solving approach, first from an operator point of view, and then from a system integrator point of view. Next slide. But before, I would like, as a preamble, giving you also my personal inputs on these two topics. Next slide, please. First, for the problem solving. For me, this is clearly the cornerstone of improvement. Knowing how to tackle the problems, proposing solutions, this is what we all need to do, and of course the standard and the different aspects will help to do that. And basically, it's only when you know how and what is wrong that you will have the best solution to find out and to apply. Nevertheless, there are different methodologies. And I guess that our speakers will tell you a little bit about that. But also don't forget that among the supply chain, all our customers have a deep and high expectation on the fact and the way how you solve the problems you might encounter. Despite the fact that there are different ways and different proposals as a solution, and also very famous one since decades. In the working group, there were quite intense discussions, but at the end they found a very good consensus on the way how we best apply this in the railway sector, and they will explain it to you. Next slide, please. On the topic of the first article inspection, I'm really proud to tell you that that was a very interesting point and absolutely new in a standard in the railway sector in 2006 when we released the first time IRIS. And we insisted on the fact it's a mandatory procedure, and in 2009 it became even a mandatory process. And therefore it's absolutely important, because usually this tool was used mainly by the customer to validate the products. But very often it was also the way where the companies, the organizations, the industry show to the operators how weak they are, because the product was not passing the first article inspection and so on. So therefore it's absolutely key since 2006 that it's part of the management system, and it's absolutely important that first article inspection becomes a normal way of working to ascertain that the development phase, the production equipment and so on is validated before I show the result to the customer if ever necessary. And therefore all the tools we have within the standard or also in the audit tool, we help the supply chain to implement this tool. So this was my preamble. I will now give the floor to the IRQB chairman, Stefan Ziegler, please.
Yeah, thank you, Bernard. Welcome to the audience. Thank you for giving me the floor. I would like to welcome you as well for our this year's first Quality Monthly webinar, and elaborate a little bit on this format as well. Next slide, please. So as you can see here, our Quality Monthly follows already a row of 11 Quality Monthlies. So today it's number 11. Last year we had the European Year of the Rail in the European Union, and we asked ourselves how to contribute, and introduced already in November 2020 the Quality Monthly. So deciding having a fixed date each first Friday in a month to have one topic on quality, what is important, what is new, what is affecting IRIS, what is important for the sector, and make this a topic of the Quality Monthly, inviting speakers from the industry, from operators, from important parties, and introducing those topics to the audience. And today we are very happy having such a big audience already online. The number of participants were increasing time by time. So even if the European Year of the Rail formally is over, but obviously it's it is also fun for us and an honor for us to continue this row of meetings, of workshops. As you can see, 5th of November 2020, we started with quality and resilience performance management after remote auditing when we were hit with the COVID pandemic, and having the first answers on this, and introduced the remote auditing. So answering to current questions, the silver quality performance level with an update after having it in place for 1 year, the customer satisfaction, IRIS guidelines, and so on. One specific topic I would to highlight again as well, the SME topic on October 21, because we were thinking about how to make IRIS more accessible and easier also for small and medium-sized enterprises. And for this reason, we also generated a guideline where it is explained how small and medium-sized enterprises can better access the IRIS certification, and this was presented in October. And now you might ask yourself, okay, that's nice in October 21. This is already some time ago, but of course we recorded the quality monthlies, and as you can see in the green box above on our homepage irqb.org/events, you can find all the recordings of all the 11 or up to today 10, tomorrow with the 11 quality monthlies, and listen to them and get the information necessary, as well as you can find the guidelines on the homepage as well. We have, of course, some quality monthlies with geographical focus. We started with Russia in September last year, added North America on December also last year, and this is also a topic which will continue having some from time to time a geographical focus. What I would like to explain also a little bit, where are these guidelines coming from, and on the next page you can see our working groups. So the IRQB, as you know, consisting of operators, system houses, component suppliers, combine a representative average of all the experts in the rail sector, in the entire rail sector internationally. And as such, IRQB being the only consortium or group combining all those expertise together. And we decided to set up a kind of working groups to bring these experts together. In some areas to develop the IRIS standard further. So you can see, for example, calibration and awarding is a working group number 1, which is taking care for the proper development of IRIS, ensuring a trusted certificate, working on further improvement on the auditors, on the certification scheme, and that is have the right intensity, delivering trustful certificates where you really can be sure that if a company has a certificate with IRIS certification, silver or gold, that you can retrieve high qualitative products and reliable services from such a company. And our aim is obviously also to reduce or to motivate, at least to motivate to reduce the second party audit volume by this effect. Then we have other working groups, as you can see, number 3, key performance indicators, which is leading to a guideline, maintenance, special processes. And on the right-hand side, you can see FAI, which we are presenting today, which is one of the recent guidelines, as well as problem solving. Bernard mentioned it, and we still have some guidelines and working groups ongoing. Configuration management is in work, RAMS LCC is in work, and obsolescence is in work as well. These are guidelines which are all meant to support the sector in improving their business performance in the respective companies, but as well, of course, as easing the IRIS certification. It gives a guiding material on the one hand side, but also a kind of, I would call it a acceptable means of compliance, how to comply best with the IRIS standard. So really helping material what is meant for. And of course, I saw in the beginning you were voting via Menti if it's really helpful. Of course, we are aiming at being extremely helpful with this, so would be happy to have all the apples on the left-hand side. And if you have a good feedback, which guideline might be missing or to what extent guidelines can be improved, we would be very happy for feedback. You can use the feedback channel for this as well, and we will collect it or discuss it at the end, that our guidelines can become even better and more helpful, that at the end of the day we can harvest all the apples. So thank you very much. We have, no, sorry, next slide, please. So, because I would be happy to as well to give an overview about all the guidelines, not only the working groups. Not all the working groups as outlined result in a guideline, but you can see here the first article inspection, problem solving, the two ones as of presented today, project management, how to incorporate IRIS for small and medium-sized enterprises, how to deal with KPI, maintenance, special processes, and customer perception. These are the guidelines which are already available on the homepage irqb.org/publications. And by this, thank you very much for your attention. And I hand over to Jana for the next part, and looking forward for the introduction of the two guidelines later. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Stefan. So I will also give my point of view for the guidelines for problem solving and first article inspection. So first, also from my side, welcome to our Quality Monthly. This time, nice to see all of you again. So in general, I would like to give a little overview regarding the guidelines. So the IRIS guidelines are published by the IRQB to support the organization to implement the IRIS certification requirements in their special processes. But what needs to be highlighted here, the guidelines only are guidelines. They do not contain any special or additional requirements, any additional to ISO TS 22163. This is really one aspect I wanted to highlight before I start with the presentation. So the guidelines, they should give a help to organizations that are maybe new to IRIS certification, or maybe also to organizations that had worked in different kinds of industries before and that are now needing some help to implement maybe special aspects in the rail industry. So the guidelines are also always giving a little explanation why some topics might be so important or so special in the rail industry. But every organization can decide on its own if he thinks that the guidelines are supportive or not. So there are always different aspects that are mentioned, how a guideline can support or how special requirements can be implemented in the organization, but it's always the organization who decides which aspects might be the best fitting for their business processes. So let us then continue with the next slide, and this is regarding our problem-solving guideline. So the first problem-solving guideline was published in 2014. And as problem solving is needed in all kinds of organization, I think this is really interesting for all companies, because the problem solving is always then needed when there is a difference between the theoretical planning and the reality. I think you all agree that everything is very fine in theory, but as soon as it comes to reality, it might get a little complicated. And this is then the point where a good problem-solving approach is needed. So since 2014, when the first revision of the problem-solving guideline was published, a lot has changed. The ISO TS 22163 was published, the IRIS certification conformity assessment was published, but what kept the same all the time is that problem-solving is still needed and still a very important topic. And this is why the IRQB decided to set up a new working group to revise our old problem-solving guideline. And in this working group, there were representatives from the whole rail supply chain. So we did not only have operators, we also had system integrators and equipment manufacturers. And all of them, they contributed in the working group and gave their knowledge and their ideas regarding an efficient problem-solving approach to update our guideline. And I think the new approach of the guideline is really, really good. So let's see on the next slide what is new in our guideline. So we not only updated the layout of the guideline, but we also implemented some new aspects. So there is now a clustering of the different problem-solving approaches, always depending on the problem complexity and the problem severity, for example. So it gives some ideas what can be done if there's maybe a single case that is not affecting the operation, or what can be done, for example, in cases of any safety-related problems. It also describes the different problem-solving process steps, but it does not describe the problem-solving methods in detail, as this is already known. And it also gives an overview of common problem-solving approaches. As I said, not really in complete detail, but it can help the organizations, if they have a problem, to cluster it in which approach it might fall, and then they can check regarding what needs to be done for the different steps. And in the annex, it also offers a detailed checklist for the problem-solving process. So if some companies are struggling, they can use the checklist to go step by step through the different aspects of problem solving. Okay, then we go to the next slide. And this is now our guideline for first article inspection. As Bernard already mentioned, also first article inspection is very important in IRIS certification. And this is why the guideline for first article inspection was published in 2012. So it is there already quite a long time. And it is also helping if there is some deviation between the theory and the reality. Because in theory, there is a drawing, there is a specification, there is a part list, there are all the documents related to products. But the outcome of this should always be a first article inspection, that it is successful and that is releasing the serial production. But between the theory of technical drawings and the reality in serial production, there are also sometimes some differences. And our guideline for first article inspections gives some help regarding the issues that need to be covered in the first article inspection. So maybe we check on the next slide what is in our guideline. So first of all, as I said, the guideline was already 10 years old. So we implemented all the requirements of ISO TS 22163. So what needs to be taken care of and what is important regarding the requirements for first article inspection. And we also described why first article inspection is so important in the rail sector. We mentioned different types of FAI, for example, an internal FAI, an FAI at a supplier, or also a customer FAI. And we have implemented some checklists and templates for the FAI process. For this guideline, we did not set up a complete new working group, but we did the update of the guideline internally in the IMC and then gave our proposal to different IRQB members for cross-reading. And then in the end, we had our revision 1 of the first article inspection guideline. So maybe we go to the next slide, because here there is again a question in the Mentimeter. So as we have now published quite a lot of guidelines in the last month, I would like to know from you if there are maybe any topics you would like to be handled in a new guideline. If you have any ideas, you can submit it in the Mentimeter, and we will keep a note and hopefully then work on this new ideas for guidelines. So please go to the Menti and write down your ideas. So I see there's a demand. Okay. Maybe I can give some comments later. Okay, perfect. I see there are a lot of ideas, and we should definitely take them and consider if we can cluster them in a guideline. So I see you raised some concerns regarding the competence management, or also regarding the internal audits. And maybe Arthur, yeah, I think the Menti is quite helpful, but as I can see, here's a request for special processes and also for project management. Maybe we go to the next slide, because here I can show that some guidelines are already available. So for example, regarding project management or also special processes, we have already a guideline. And if you would like to download this, you can go to the IRQB website, irqb.org, and there at publications, you see our guidelines. So lucky for them who chose for those who chose project management and special processes, they can already find some support. And if you want to have any more information, you can also subscribe to our IRQB bulletin. But now I think it's time for our problem-solving experts to give them the floor, because they have really, really deep knowledge in problem solving, and this was a lot of fun in our working group.
Thank you, Jana. I will give the floor, I think, to Christopher for the first specific view, especially on how, in an operator point of view, this shall be tackled. So, Christopher, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Bernard, and thank you all for inviting me as a speaker to this topic. And even though I'm speaking for the operator's perspective today for Deutsche Bahn, I'm also speaking as, let's say, a problem-solving. Well, I won't call it expert, but it is problem solving has been with my professional life for quite a long time, since I started my career not in the railway industry, but as a marine engineer, sailing the world's biggest container ships over the oceans. And as you can imagine, there's problems every day. So problem solving has really been a part of my professional life for a long time. But now back to rail. What is actually our mission as an operator, Deutsche Bahn? Maybe some numbers for those from calling in from out of Europe. We are, by numbers, by passengers, I think it's around 150 million passengers per year, with around 40 billion turnover. We are the biggest carrier in Europe. And so, yeah, that's just as a start. So what is actually our mission? Our mission is to take our passengers from A to B, and this we want to do on time, and we want to give our passengers a comfortable ride experience as well. So to do this, we have given us like 3 main KPIs, which is lost trains, which translates to canceled trains, lost units, which is how we measure delays in chunks of 90-second delays, and lost functions. And to be able to perform in this aspect, we of course need you as suppliers. We need your parts, and products and services, of course, and we need it at the right place, in the right time, and in the right quality. Now, what do we see today, and what would we actually like to see? Of course, as a customer, what we like to see is on the left the famous scene from the Apollo 13 movie, where the whole team is gathered around and is dedicated to solve this problem. So, but what we see in reality, and of course not always and not with every supplier, is more something that we see on the right. So we see people not taking our problems seriously, or shifting responsibilities within their organization from one unit to the other unit, and so on. And of course, this is a bit exaggerated, but it is, there's some truth in it. And yeah, so I'm happy that we have taken the guideline and this topic, problem solving, to put it on the table, and have developed this guideline to all improve problem solving, since and there we go back to this picture on the right, we all sit in the same boat for our customers, for our passengers, and of course the same applies also for the cargo section as well. This is a picture taken from the annex of the guideline. What was our idea behind it? So as we were talking in our working group on how problem solving is done in the various companies, we found a lot of approaches. And at one point we said, okay, let's take all these different approaches and put them in a matrix to see what is actually, where are the differences and what they have in common. And in the end, you can see in these blocks, no matter what you do, if you do a PDCA A3, if you do an AD, or if you use Six Sigma or FTA, PDCA, you always have some, let's say, common, similar structure in these problem-solving processes. And so it's maybe not the most important which methodology you choose in the end, but to do it structured, to do it thoroughly, and this is why this will be one of my focuses today, to do especially the root cause analysis. Root cause analysis is absolutely the core element of a high quality problem solving, so that you do this with dedication. And I have put together here some risks towards finding the root cause. And this is, first of all, we all know preconceived ideas. Somebody on your problem-solving team already knows what is the cause. Be careful with those. Maybe one little example that just happened recently. We had an 8D, quality 8D going on with a supplier of ours, with small displays, and they found a liquid in the display. So they were always going to us and telling us, dear Deutsche Bahn, you must be doing something wrong. where do you store these displays? There is water in those displays, and we have no idea where this water is coming from. And let's say after, I don't know, a year or so, they finally found the liquid that was in the display. It wasn't water, it was something else which came from the actually from the rubber ceiling. And so we were like hunting for a root cause that had never been thoroughly verified on both sides. So I mean, we did the same mistake. We didn't also question that it was water for a long time. So beware of preconceived ideas, beware of monocausal thinking. I will have a focus on how to fight monocausal thinking later. And of course, human factor is always a big issue, especially if human factor is only seen as human error, which is not the same. And then we call it out of sight, out of mind phenomena, factors that are really very distant in space and time from the actual problem or from the event are often not regarded. And of course, we are all limited in our objectivity. Now, some approaches to deal with those risks. Starting with preconceived ideas. I mean, it's always sometimes it's okay to feel, you know, to follow gut feeling theories, especially if you have very experienced team members. But these gut feeling theories, they need verification. That's important. What we can do on monocausal thinking, I'll elaborate a little bit on that later. There are nice tools that are also implemented in other industries for a longer time. So there's experience how to deal with that, and so on. I will continue now with the root cause analysis topic. I guess you all know 5Y. 5Y is basically the mother of all root cause analysis methods. And if you master 5Y, you're good. But you are also kind of, you are in, let's say, elementary school of root cause analysis. Because what can 5Y do for you? 5Y can give you a logically consistent cause-effect relationship, and it ensures the necessity of your causes, of your causal factors. But what it doesn't do is, at first, it does not make sure that you are complete in your analysis. And as you can see in the example here, it provides also some risk of confusing a necessary factor with a precondition. If we take this example here on the left, I got wet in a rain shower. Why? It started raining, okay. Why? Relative humidity in some altitude, whatever, had gone across 100%. This is a, well, methodically 100% correct 5Y, even if it's not 5, it's only 3 here in this example. It's methodically correct, but we found a root cause. Okay, it's the relative humidity exceeding 100%, but it is not a manageable root cause. So it is important in root cause analysis to distinguish between root causes and manageable root causes, because only those can be addressed by you or your organization. So now on the right side, I have prepared the same example, but with a different methodology, which is close to a 5y, but it goes beyond. Let's say here we are in secondary school of root cause analysis. And the logic behind it, I will show you later. It is pretty simple, and it's also very old. It goes back, I think, to the 1860s. It was developed by a Scotsman called Hume, and it has been used by Scotland Yard, I think, for over decades already. So it's very old, and it's simple, and it makes sure that you are complete in your analysis in every causal step of your why it's called why because analysis of your root cause analysis. And in this case, if we ask why did I get wet in this rain shower, I'm always asking myself, is this causal factor, is it necessary? And do we have other causal factors that need to be fulfilled to see the problem or to trigger the effect, to trigger the problem? And this is a methodical, logical validation of your fault diagram or your cause-effect diagram. And how this works in detail. Now this looks a bit theoretically in the first moment, but it will become clear, I think. Now we have these factors. I went out for a walk. It started raining and I forgot my umbrella. These are my three causal factors that have to come together to make me wet when I go out in the rain. And so what is now the logic behind it? How does it work? We always ask ourselves two questions on every causal step of this diagram. And the first question is, or the first test is, are these causes necessary? And the second test that we do is, are these causes complete? So how does it work in detail? So we always ask ourselves, for every factor that we have, could the effect B have occurred if it hadn't been for A1? So if the answer is no, B is a necessary causal factor for, A is a necessary causal factor for B. This is called counterfactual test. The second question is that we ask is, will the effect inevitably happen when A1 occurs? So is it automatically happening when this factor, I went out for a walk, occurs? If the answer is no, it is automatically proven that you must have another root cause coming together with A1 to make the effect happen. If not, you have done probably something wrong in your analysis. So of course I can go out for a walk without getting wet. So what do we need else to make me wet? By the way, this is called the so-called causal sufficiency criterion. And now we do the same thing with all our factors, asking again, could the effect have occurred without A3? No, it couldn't. So it is a necessary causal factor. We have done our analysis right. So test 1 completed. We're good on that. Now test 3. At this time, when we have A1, A2, and A3 all together, I go out for a walk, it starts raining, and I have no umbrella with me. The answer this time is yes, it will. I will get wet So test 2 completed. So we know we are good on that one. So if you like these, you can also have a look in the guideline, of course, or you look for why because analysis. It's been developed in this form by Professor Letkin. Put into Google or follow this link. I think we can also post it in the chat later on. Or if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with me and yeah, drop me an email. I'd be happy to talk with you. And yeah, now I'm looking forward to the perspective of one of our most important suppliers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris, for this very detailed analysis on the problem-solving point. Before giving the floor to Olivier, maybe we go through the next Menti question. Which root cause analysis tool or method do you use in problem solving? So just as an input for the presentation of Olivier, let's give here some possibilities and let's see how this is also used. You see already people have filled in, and there are of course very well-known methodologies, 5-wise, AD, but there are also other ones which might not be so usual. The specialists, Christopher and Olivier, might know it much better than me. You see there is quite a good knowledge on this. Maybe then Olivier, take the floor, please, and tell us how at the system integrator level you tackle this issue, and maybe you can react on the output of this Menti. Olivier.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you, Bernard. Hello, very honored to be with you today, and also was very funny to participate and contribute to this guideline. By the way, with Jana and a group of people that put our brain together. So all of the tools that are displayed here, I'm pretty sure they are most familiar with you. But I would say my way and the contributor with who has partnered during this event knows that I am a big fan of the problem statement, because problem statement is the most important part of the problem solving. As we said, a problem well stated is half solved. And so you see also a very interesting deep dive and from Christopher, but I will go through the approach now, which club together all of these tools, because sometimes people are lost with okay, thank you. Alrighty, we're really quick. Next, really quick before we start. Our mission, like Bernard said, we are a manufacturer and system integrator. So I'm going to go through a quick presentation to present today the new Alstom. As you know, we are celebrating the new lunar year, but for us in Alstom, we are celebrating also this week the new big Alstom. So please next. So our mission as a manufacturer and system integrator is to partner, and really partnering and collaborating is really key in today's world, and particularly in problem solving. And you know, the 19 compared to the new world where we are living, a little bit more complex. We have stakeholder, and we have to partner with all the stakeholder, not only the customer and the supplier, but many stakeholders to optimize transport network by understanding what really moves people. And we are proud to work together to reinvent mobility to make transport easier and more intuitive. As you can see, this is the Coradia Island, one of our last technology with the hydrogen. So next slide. And I will go really quick on that to really concentrate on the approach. So this is the new Alstom. As you can see, we almost double the size, and we are present in more than 250, 70 countries, 250 sites, and we double in terms of footprint, the size of the company. Next slide. So really quick on this, this is our result last year. Next slide. I think we are a little bit behind schedule. So we are organized at Alstom with 3 product line from rolling stock component, DIS, signaling, and digital and integrated system, as well as service. And you will see the importance of that for our problem solving DNA at Alstom. Next slide. Next slide. So now, so you know, problem solving, it's really at the heart of what really animates the company. So, you know, having a good and robust problem solving approach can help problem become smaller when you really confront them. And problems are the center of what many people do at work every day, whether you are solving a problem for a client, a society, or the planet with new technology. Supporting those who are solving problem or discovering new problem to solve. The problem you face can be large or small, simple or complex, easy or difficult. And without any approach, your solution may be ineffective, or you will get stuck to do nothing with sometimes painful consequences. So as you can see in the supply chain, problem is almost everywhere. Next slide. So this is here, you see the evolution of the problem solving at Alstom. So it's an important reminder that before moving to process improvement, and I will conclude on process improvement, because there is a lot of confusion today between problem solving and process improvement. And we launched a new initiative in 2020 to really use the foundation that we have from problem solving, the digitized way of solving an ADs, or in 2014 we moved to the PFMEA, what we call the AD before the AD, with more risk and critical analysis. But problem solving is really at the heart, and we need to have our people as comfortable as possible with problem solving. Next slide. And next slide. Yeah, my role as a quality school director was really to develop a superhero. And so here I try to summarize, because I'm not going to give you a training. Most of the slides here come from our training, but it's 2 or 3 days with follow-ups. So to build a practitioner in problem solving, it takes time. But there is 3 instances. The number one is to recognize that, and we have a problem, and be on the same page. And critical thinking is really at the heart of the problem solving. And we call that the 4A: communication to progress on problem solving, and collaboration to really motivate the creativity. Next slide. So like I said, I am a big fan of the 5Y and 5W2H. 5W2H is really a great tool, and thank you to Kepner Tregory to put that together. It's really the start and the recognition of a problem, and this is very important to converge as fast as possible on the description of the problem and the characterization of the problem. Next slide. Like I said, once you have a recognized problem, the rest is collaboration. And today we are helped with the new technology, Teams, for example, or many other tools that facilitate the collaboration across the board. And it's important to create what I call an operational team mechanism. So let me just give you a few examples of operational team mechanism. Next slide. You see on that slide 2 examples. So the first example is probably the first process we review when we build the new Alstom. It's the detection of the issue. When an issue is detected, we need to be as fast as possible to move this issue to a subject matter expert, and then mobilize or not a team if we decide that this is a problem. So this process of alert is very important. The number 2 is more when the problem is recognized and you have to work on new problem that appears and also review the progress on your problem. So these 2 team operational mechanisms are really important, particularly because we are human and because we are lazy, we need to have this routine. Next slide. Yeah, and the approach that was described by Christopher very well on the root cause analysis is important. But what you need to capture, as you can see here on the HEDUs, is 2 types of cause: the cause of detection and the cause of non-detection. The cause of occurrence, sorry, and the cause of occurrence and cause of non-detection. And ask you why we were not able to trap with our process and what failed in our process to detect or to not detect this problem when it occurs. So very important to find and trap these 2 causes that we remind inside the guideline: the cause of non-detection and the cause of occurrence. Next slide. Yeah, and that will be my conclusion before we move to the question. Like I said, a lot of people mix up sometime process improvement and problem solving. You know, we like you saw the foundation at Alstom. We work hard to create a foundation with the APSYS, the Alstom Performance System. This Alstom Performance System provides standard. So when there is a gap between the standard and the situation, that is typical where we need to mobilize the problem solving tool set. And there is really 5 or 6 tools to mobilize and not more than that. But continuous improvement, it's really to move the standard above and beyond to gain a competitive advantage. That's it for me because I'm watching also the time. That's okay. And
perfect. Olivier, thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you also to the other speakers for this very deep analysis of especially the problem solving part. As you say, time is running. I just have a very few questions to precise some aspects. The first would be for you, Olivier. Is the problem solving methodology also applicable in the tender phase? What is your point on that?
Yeah, in the railway, when we are in the tender phase, we identify a lot of problem. Of course, a lot of gap between our current product and the new requirements of the customer. But this come to really what need to be attacked with the requirement, and the clarification of the requirement are at the heart of the problem solving. And it's important to remind that, because if we not clarify the requirement, particularly in tender phase, this will create problem later on if the deal is gained by the company. So really important to have robust problem solving and risk analysis early during the tender phase.
Okay, thank you, Olivier. A short question also to Christopher. You explained a little bit what are the different problems you encounter and the way you encounter it in the supply chain. Can you quickly tell us what are, in your opinion, the 2 main problems where the railway sector has to tackle with in terms of processes? What are the processes you now immediately came to your mind where problems need to be solved quickly in the rail sector?
So I don't know if it's easy to tell that, but definitely, I think we have to address problems in an earlier stage than we do it today, because today we see it very often when the problem already had a long evolution, you know, from design requirements, design, engineering, production planning, and as we all know, with every stage, the cost of a problem multiplied by 10 approximately. So we really have to get our problems solved earlier in the process development and before we actually start really developing or manufacturing the product.
Okay, thank you, Christopher. Last question just came in, maybe for Jana, in terms of how the working group was dealing with the different topics. Was this point about optimization during the analysis phases tackled, or is it still an aspect which is to be taken into account later on? Can you say something about that?
Yeah. So maybe I speak for all the participants in the working group. We sometimes had long discussions and sometimes also even harder discussions, as we were not always on the same side. So I think we tried to have a look at all the different aspects from all different sides. And this is why I think it was so valuable that we had members in our working groups from all the different participants in the rail supply chain. So as I said, we had the operators, we had the system integrators, and also the equipment manufacturers to have as much knowledge as possible.
Okay, thank you. Anyhow, this gives me the possibility also to say that, I mean, the work will never finish because we regularly have a look on our guidelines, and we might also update some evolutions of the state of art, of new techniques, and so on. And that's what can happen and what will happen as well with the different guidelines. So that's a very important point. So, I mean, anyhow, if you have additional questions, don't hesitate to contact our experts or the IMC directly. We will redirect and we will be very keen to answer you. You see already that the next Quality Monthly is planned exactly in 1 month, 4th of March, and the topic will be a geographical topic focused on the France, so French market in rail and France especially. So I would like to thank all of you who have participated, who have attended and listened to this first webinar in 2022. Those who want to have a look because some elements were not clear enough, you can, of course, have a look on the video again, and therefore have a nice day, and see you soon in Quality Monthly. Bye-bye.